Good morning, friends. Thank you for having us today. I think most of you know me, but for those who don't, my name is Amy Gottlieb. I serve as the Associate Regional Director for the Northeast region of AFSC. I've been at AFSC now for over 20 years, started in 1996. About 10 years ago, I was working as the director of the Immigrant Rights Program in Newark, New Jersey. And through my work, I met and fell in love with Ravi Ragbir, who had recently been released from immigration detention. But when he was released, he was immediately involved in immigrant rights work, and we met through various presentations. We kept running into each other, and here we are now, married. We got married in September of 2010, and Ravi had an ankle monitor at the time. And when we decided to get married, I knew that I was getting into a difficult situation because he was still facing deportation. But we chose to believe that the community that was behind us and the love that we felt and the legal team that we had was going to make this all work and make it okay. And over the last 8 years, we pretty much have been fine. Ravi's been living here. We've had a wonderful life in Brooklyn. And on January 11th of this year, Ravi had a regularly scheduled check-in with ICE, where they told us that it was the end of the road, that they were no longer going to give him time to be in the United States, that he had exhausted all his legal remedies, which in fact is not true. And they took him away in front of me. They handcuffed him. A lot of drama around that story that I won't go into. But what I will say is that at that moment when Ravi was kind of snatched from me, and there were 2 days where I actually didn't know where he was. They flew him to Miami. He was completely not in contact. I realized that our lives were shifting in a big way. It was quite possible that they would have deported him that day, except for the amazing legal and community spirit behind us and the family that we have. But we knew that things were changing, that we were going to have to live differently. Ravi's here with us, and you'll hear from him. And that is really because of the family and community and legal and wonderful support that we have. And I just want to share that as a staff member at AFSC for so long, that AFSC is one of my families. And the day that Ravi was detained, one of the first messages I received, I got a text message from somebody in our communications department who texted me a photo of the entire Philadelphia staff together in a room holding a sign that said, "I stand with Ravi." And that was an incredibly powerful moment. I still have the photo in my phone because it was really so moving and so important for me to know that in this really difficult time that so many of us are living, that there is this spirit and love within the place that I work, and not many people have that. So it's really special to be here today with all of you, for you to welcome me and Ravi. And our struggle continues. He's home. He's been home since January 29th. There's a lot of complex legal story behind all this that I'm happy to share with you separately. But we're still in a struggle. You know, he's not out of the woods by any means. We're still really hoping and praying and working really hard that he'll be here. But, you know, for the moment, we live one day at a time, and we are just extraordinarily grateful for the unique position we are in with our community and love. And also, you know, frankly, like, we both have done this work for a long time, so we're able to put our story out there in a way. And you know, it's challenging to have your personal story out there with your work colleagues. You know, that's not always an easy thing to live with, but AFSC has made that okay for me, and it's a choice that I made to be public and to help the world understand what our immigration system does to people and how it can really tear families apart, and how important it is to build behind you in order to stop what so many people are struggling. And so we see ourselves as a opportunity to give hope to people who often might not have it. So I just really want to thank you, and thanks Lucy for inviting us and putting this together. And, happy to chat with you all later if you like.
I will be singing the song "We Are a Nation," which Sweet Honey and the Rock wrote several years ago in response to the anti-immigration laws that were being passed in Arizona. And it's a real call to us as a country to examine our conscience and look at the ways that we have embraced racism and xenophobia rather than the ideals of justice that we ought to be embracing. And it's a call to repentance and a recommitment and to a renewed struggle for justice and equality for all. We hold these truths to be self-evident, that all are created equal and endowed by their Creator with certain inalienable rights, among which are life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. We need a nation joined heart to hand. We need a nation where we understand that we are a nation. Come together, heed the call. This law of immigration, race hatred, separation. Can we find a way to come together right now? Both sides of the conversation keep the freedoms of our nation, any points of view together. Civil rights are not protected, stopped, questioned, blamed, arrested. I want to know, is it fair? Is it fair? I care. Do you care? Stand for justice if you dare. Are we a nation divided as we fall? We need a nation joined heart to hand. We need a nation where we understand that we are a nation. Come together, heed the call. What's happened to democracy? Strange to me. We all deserve justice and equality. Does the color of your skin determine how and when you can be stopped and booked for the way that you look and for the place that you were born? Racial profile. This is not freedom style. It's got to be the time to come together right now. Right now. I care. Do you care? Stand for justice if you dare. Are we a nation divided as we fall? We need a nation joined heart to hand. We need a nation where we understand that we are a nation. Come together, heed the call. Come together, heed the call.
Acts 2, verses 43 to 47. awe came upon everyone because many wonders and signs were being done by the apostles. All who believed were together and had all things in common. They would sell their possessions and goods and distribute the proceeds to all, as any had need. Day by day, as they spent much time together in the temple, they broke bread at home and ate their food with glad and generous hearts, praising God and having the goodwill of all the people. And day by day, the Lord added to their number those who were being saved.
Good morning. I'm going to share a story and tell me if this brings back any memories. Looking at a television and with great hope and expectancy, and then as the night goes on, your spirit starts to drop and dip. And then after 12, after Pennsylvania, you started to cry. Right? Do you know what I'm talking about? That day, 11/9, is embedded in our memories and in my wife's memory because she did not stop crying for weeks. And because she knew, as she just said, the impact this was going to have on our lives. And the impact it has on many other lives. But everyone, you all and everyone was scared and is still scared. Because right now we believe, then and now we believe that the fabric of our democracy, the fabric of our society, the fabric of dignity is at risk, is at threat. This is only the first day of this administration. It wasn't even the day yet, because this was November 9th. But when you remember what he said, how his campaign words, his campaign rhetoric, you know that this was going to be a different era. This was going to be a different time. And even when I'm looking around at this room, and there are a lot of people who will look at this room and say, well, you wouldn't be touched. Right? You won't be touched. Because when this president says, well, we need to stop bringing people from, I'm not allowed to say bad words in the space? Okay. When he said we should stop having people from the S-hole countries like Africa, like Haiti, right? You know who he's talking about. He's talking about people like me. He's talking about people from Africa. He's talking about black people, brown people. And then he added the other sentence, which is, yeah, we need more people from Norway. And that shows exactly what his focus was, where he was, what he was thinking. And it was set on his first day of his campaign when he generalized with one country, saying that country was full of rapists, full of murderers, full of violence, drug dealers. Even if it would not affect us, we knew if you are targeting, we knew that if a country goes in this direction, all of us are going to pay. So is history repeating itself? Are we first making the other? Have we made the other? Right. First make them the other. Then we deport them. Then we detain them when we can't deport them fast enough. And what happens next? Is history repeating itself? What happens when you cannot deport the millions of people who have lived lives here for generations? and have created generations and community here. What happens when you cannot detain them fast enough that you're running out of space? What happens next? In fact, there's a book called America's Hitler. I haven't read the book, but the summary of that book says that when Hitler came to America, he saw the immigration policy that was being used here, and he said, this is what I need in my country to move people towards him. Because this was an easy way to make someone the other. We're at war. We are at war right now. And I know I'm sitting in a Quaker meeting room, and to talk about war just stirs us up. But we are at war. And I want to share, and I believe this is very important because it shows the direction we are going in. And I'm speaking, and I'll be speaking about immigration as the basis and to show why without your action to stop this immigration policy and stop this immigration push, we are in the dark roads towards history repeating itself. We have an agency called Immigration and Customs Enforcement. And when you heard Amy talk about January 11th, my attorneys immediately filed a lawsuit to keep me from being removed from New York and being deported. You know what the Immigration and Customs Enforcement response was? They responded in court. They said that the court, the third branch of government, the judiciary branch, did not have jurisdiction over them. The third branch of government, the judiciary, does not have jurisdiction over Immigration and Customs Enforcement. My attorneys filed another lawsuit to keep me here. This one is in New Jersey. Same argument. The court does not have jurisdiction to keep me here. When Amy and my attorneys reached out to my Congresswoman Velasquez, she immediately was able to harness a letter with 30 Congress people's signatures saying, do not deport Ravi. Do not deport Ravi. That was ignored. But prior to that, there was a private bill for another person. I don't know if you remember the story about the Yale law student. Her father was being deported, and they had submitted a private bill for this father. And the House Judiciary said, we will accept this bill, we're going to look at this bill, and send Immigration and Customs Enforcement a letter saying, please do not deport this father because we have a private bill in front of us. Can you guess what happened? He was deported. The next day, he was deported. We have a second branch of government that does not have jurisdiction. I did not know what it meant that this agency, lots of lawyers will talk about this agency being a plenary agency. I did not know what it meant until a professor was speaking about the history, and she said a plenary agency works outside the bounds of the Constitution. Yes. I know you all don't like to use the word Jesus inside here, but I heard the word Jesus a few more people responded. Because yes, you have an agency in America that is working outside the bounds of the Constitution. And it's not even that they are doing this in secret. Under the previous administration, there was a facade. It was an assumption that there was order. Right? And if you go back, there was an article written by Jacqueline Stevens, Secret Ice Castles. And she was reporting at the director at that time, saying to the PDs, the police departments, the chiefs, if you want someone to disappear, just call us. Just call us. This is where we are. And this is the nexus we are in right now. This is the place that if we don't notice, we don't act, we are going to move closer into history. Right? Because you have this agency, when they submitted their affidavits about deporting me. You know how many people, when they took me to the hospital, and I was shackled, they had 20 officers surrounding me. 20 officers. When they took me from the hospital to go to put me on the plane, I was escorted by at least 10 cars. Sirens and lights just shooting me down the street. And I'm sitting there surrounded by officers, two in front, two in the back, and I'm handcuffed, and I'm saying, what is happening? I wasn't the president. Maybe he should be here. Right? This is going live, so I have to be careful, right? But it was surreal. It was extremely surreal. The resources they were using to remove me. And that was intentful. They said in their documents that they war gamed this whole process. They war gamed it. Now, were they at war with me? They're not at war with me. They were at war with the supporters, my friends, my community, my lawyers. It was them that they were at war with. Because the war game was, how do we stop the pastors and the rabbis and the Quakers and the friends, right, from supporting me? They are at war with you. They are at war with you, including you. Right? And they have started to do. When the administration took power, it moved from being a subtle war into an all-blown war. So that they are now very public about all the things that they're doing. This is called psychological warfare. So that when they took, if they were successful and they took Ravi away, and we had 1,000 people on the streets that day, just to accompany me, right? 1,000 people. And if they were successful, all they would have to do was a press release saying, we deported Ravi, and the people and the community would say, well, if Ravi could be deported, what chance do I have? Psychological. What chance do I have? That's why they utilize, that's why they have to move so much resources to get rid of me. That's why when they are doing a raid, they publicize it. We have gone to Tennessee meatpacking plant. We are going Operation Safe City. We are going to raid over 100 7-Elevens. We are going in your space, and we are going to remove you, and you will be deported. So when I was in detention, and I'm sitting there, and they had me on the corridor because there was not enough beds anymore. So they had me in the corridor in a cot. And I'm sitting there and I'm saying, well, okay, this is my opportunity to continue my work because I will be able to speak to the people who need help. There was a sense of hopelessness in that space. Even if they had legal options, they were not willing to take it because they thought that that option was very slim, and that they will be wasting time, and that it would mean that they were going to be deported anyhow. Isn't that what their goal is? To create a sense of hopelessness for these communities so that they are not willing to fight? Self-deportation doesn't only mean you get up and leave. Self-deportation means that you are literally weak, afraid, tired, and given up. They are becoming very successful. They are becoming successful because even when you as a community is willing to fight, you are already lost. You have already lost because you're thinking that this agency is too big for me. So that's a good way to start a service, right? A sermon. Well, let me give you the good news. The good news is you are going to win this. We are going to win this. Right? The good news is that us together will defeat this. Darkness cannot survive. You are going to bring down this agency. You are going to bring down this administration. We are going to win. You know why we are going to win? Because we have a higher, respond. What's the word I'm looking for? We have our obligation is to a higher authority. Our obligation is to a higher authority. This may be the law, and we all talk about law and order. This president is talking about a law and order, yes? Isn't that funny? Exactly. Who laughed there? This is a president talks about law and order. And even if we buy that, we are obligated to a higher authority. And that higher authority says that what is happening is wrong. So when I would take my, when I had reported in, and I would report regularly, I would not go alone. I would have my friends, my family with me. This particular incident, this ICE officer was screaming at me. And two things, he said something to me that stuck, and I'm repeating it here, is he said, I was abusing the system in two ways. Two ways. The first one is I was fighting my case in court. Right? Fighting my case in court, I was abusing the system. And the second, every time I went in there, I had my friends and family with me. Because you were coming with me, it means that they felt I was abusive of the system. You know why? Because you were watching, you were witnessing, you were observing, so that they know that this was wrong. You know, in the Bible, I know I'm not supposed to quote Bible and be biblical here. That's a joke. I'm apologizing. I make bad jokes. But in the Bible, it wasn't the people who knew Jesus, right? In Galilee, he was like, isn't this the carpenter's son? But the demons he was exorcising, removing, knew his name. The agency knows what they're doing is wrong. And they need to do it, but they need to do it in the dark. And when you walk in there, you're bringing light into that space. And when you walk in there as a person of faith, as a person who answers, that's the word I was looking for, answers. Who answers to the higher authority, you are bringing the light of that authority into the space. You are moving into the space with that authority to act. And that's the victory you're going to have. That's where we are going to win. And Tim sang the song in response to Arizona SB 1070 in 2011. In 2012, we started the Jericho Walk. Jericho Walk. Just like in Bible, there's talked about, they walked around the city 7 times. You know, the story is about a city that was invincible, that they could not win. And they were just told, okay, you cannot win, but just follow my instructions. Just do what I said. Say. Just walk around this city 7 times in silence. Normally, I would make a joke saying that imagine people of faith being silent. Right? I can't say that here. But walking around in silence. When we have been doing the Jericho Walk since 2012, every week, faithfully. And I've always said it has never rained on us when we are doing the Jericho walk. It's crazy. We have done it around Supreme Court. We have done it around Congress. We have done it around the Senate building. We have taken the Jericho walk. And as we were doing this, we knew something was shifting. Because we were prayerfully, we did not have a sign, we did not speak. This was in complete silence, with pastors wearing robes and stoles. So it wasn't like we were looking like tourists. Right? We were doing very in your face, but not talking to anyone at all. And yet, everyone knew what we were doing. You go in there and you just say, when are those people going to be here? Who? Or the people praying? Oh, yeah, they will be here on Thursday at 11 o'clock. Right? All the guys know us. In fact, sometimes for Easter, we were praying for the guys. They have told us, so when we started this in 2012, we knew that something was shifting. Because the principality of this darkness, this is a principality, right? We have now moved into an agency to becoming a principality. And that principality we couldn't win, so we had to take it out of our hands and leave it to the higher authority. That's what the Jericho walk is about. And we had started to shift, and in 2013, there was discussion about immigration reform. Unfortunately, we were not getting what we wanted. We knew what we could have gotten, but our own leaders had lost. So they were already compromised, and we stopped the Jericho walk in 2015. We started it back in 2016, just before the election. Because this is the moment that we are able to, in this chaos, this is the moment that when we walk into that, when we bring this light into the space, that we need to know what we want. We need to know the society that we want to create. We need to know the president, the qualities of the president we want to have. We need to know that. So we should not have accepted that this guy could say what he said, and immediately he's saying things I believe in, that we should deport all those criminals. We should remove people who are causing conflict in our community. He's saying what I want to say, so now I can say it. We need to understand that as people of faith, we have to address the bad things in our own community, because we are the one that will provide the moral compass. And we are able to say, okay, we are going to have people who steal. Why are they stealing? When they take our resources from us in our community, what some of us don't have any choice. 31% unemployment, 50% unemployment. What some of us don't have any choice. We will steal for bread. We have a case in 5 years ago, 6 years ago, where a father was stealing bread because he couldn't afford it in California, in America. Right? Serving a life sentence because of 3 strikes at that time. I don't remember what happened since then. So we need to have the conversation about what we want to be. And this is the moment. This is the moment that we create the society we want to be. So I had the verse Acts 2, 42 to 47. So why did I bring that up? I haven't spoken about that yet, right? I talked about the Jericho walk, so I could have gone to Joshua 8, I believe. I could have spoken to that, and we could have talked about the Jericho walk. So why bring in Acts 2? Well, in the Jericho walk, it's not about me. When we are under war, we all tend to be, and we are living in this fear, we tend to isolate ourselves because we don't know what to do. And we hide. We may not be hiding physically, but we're hiding internally. We're afraid. Acts 2 talk on the Jericho walk talks about it is not about me, but it's about each other. It is about all of us. It is that when we come together in the same mind and body, the same intent, our numbers will start to increase. When we come together as communities who are against this war, who are against this travesty of justice to our society, to our democracy, to our country, our numbers will multiply. When we come together, people will see that we have become the beacon and the light. And they will want to join us because they know that you are the family. So Acts 2:42 to 47 is about us now being very intentful, being very open, that we are against what is happening and that we are coming together to fight this. And I will say sometimes, and this goes again to your principles. We're at war. What is your role in that war? What is your role in that war? And that sign outside, right outside here, where it says that you are conscious objectors. Yet you were still part of the war, healing the sick, taking care of those who were injured. You have to be part of that war now. You have to step up and heal now. You have to step up and invite and bring together. That is your role. That is the role of people of faith. Thank you.